The city lights of Las Vegas shimmered in the distance, a stark contrast to the dimly lit hotel room where Travis Kelce sat, lost in thought. He leaned forward, his elbows on his knees, staring at the floor. The muffled sounds of celebration from outside filtered through the thick hotel windows, but inside there was only silence. His phone buzzed on the nightstand, another notification from the endless flood of messages. He ignored it. The weight of the season, the highs, the crushing final moment. It all sat heavy on his chest. A soft knock at the door broke the silence. He sighed, running a hand over his face before standing up. When he opened it, Taylor Swift stood there, her eyes filled with something he couldn't quite place. Understanding, concern, warmth. She didn't say anything at first, just looked at him for a moment before stepping forward and wrapping her arms around him. He stiffened for a second, then exhaled deeply, resting his chin on her shoulder. "You're still a champion," she murmured. He let out a dry chuckle, shaking his head. "Didn't feel like it out there." She pulled back just enough to look at him. "You don't have to feel it right now. Just know it." He didn't answer, just nodded slightly before stepping aside to let her in. He wasn't sure what he needed at this moment, but maybe, just maybe, it was this. Someone who saw beyond the athlete, beyond the headlines, and into the person underneath. They sat on the couch, the TV in the background still looping post-game analysis. Travis picked up the remote and muted it. "You didn't have to come," he said after a while. "I wanted to." Taylor tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. "And I had something planned. Something to remind you of who you are." He raised an eyebrow. "Planned?" She smiled, a small but knowing expression. "Trust me." 30 minutes later, they were in a sleek black SUV, weaving through the quiet Las Vegas streets. Travis, now more curious than anything, stole glances at her. She seemed calm, but there was a glint of excitement in her eyes. When they pulled up to a rooftop restaurant, one that was completely empty except for candle-lit tables, his breath caught for a moment. It wasn't the grandeur that surprised him, but the intimacy of it all. "No cameras," she said softly. "No distractions. Just us." A waiter approached with a glass of Travis's favorite drink. He glanced at Taylor, shaking his head with a smile. "You really thought of everything, huh?" "Always," she teased, her fingers brushing against his. "Come on, there's more." As they sat down, Travis noticed the biggest surprise of all. On the far side of the terrace, a massive canvas was set up, covered by a cloth. He narrowed his eyes. "What's that?" She grinned. "Your reminder." She nodded to the waiter, who walked over and carefully pulled the cloth away. Beneath it was a custom painting, an artistic montage of Travis's career. His greatest moments, his first touchdown, his championship wins, even the tough losses. It wasn't just about victories, it was about his journey. For a long moment, he just stared. His throat tightened, and he exhaled slowly. "Damn, Tay." "I had it made a while ago," she admitted. "But after tonight, I thought, maybe this is the right time." He swallowed hard, nodding. "It's perfect." She reached across the table, her hand finding his. "Travis, you are so much more than a game. Football is what you do, but it's not who you are. And one bad night doesn't erase everything you've built." He blinked a few times, looking down at their hands. "You know, I don't usually get like this," he admitted, "but this one stung." She squeezed his fingers. "I know. That's why I'm here." The conversation drifted into lighter things, old stories, music, the ridiculousness of Vegas nightlife. For the first time that night, he laughed. A real, genuine laugh. The weight on his chest started to feel a little lighter. As the night went on, the world outside continued its noise, but in that small rooftop escape, none of it mattered. They stayed until the candles burned low, until the sky hinted at dawn. Later, as they walked back to the SUV, Travis looked over at her, his voice softer than usual. "You're kinda good at this, you know that?" She smirked. "At what?" "Knowing exactly what I need, even when I don't." Taylor shrugged playfully. "I have my moments." As they drove back, his phone buzzed again. This time, he looked at it. A flood of messages, articles, reactions from the world. But instead of the usual post-game chaos, something else stood out. His latest tweet had blown up overnight. "Some moments matter more than wins and losses." And just below it, Taylor's simple like, "The internet?" lost its mind. Again. Taylor Swift's secret gesture for Travis Kelce after Super Bowl, true love. This is why she's the GOAT. She understands him like no one else. Inside Travis and Taylor's private night after the Super Bowl. But for once, none of it mattered. Because, sitting next to Taylor, watching the city lights blur past the car window, Travis Kelce felt something unexpected. Peace. As the morning sun began to rise, Taylor rested her head on his shoulder, and he exhaled deeply. The game was over, but life wasn't. The future was unwritten, but for the first time in hours, it didn't seem so daunting. He wasn't thinking about next season, about what the media would say, or what came next. Right now, he was just here. And for the first time since the final whistle blew, he felt like himself again. If you believe in the power of resilience, hit that like button and comment, "Champions never quit" below. Let's celebrate greatness together.